Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Violette de Ayala. I'm the founder of FemCity and for FemCity Girls. And you're joining me today for our special FemCity Girls program. I have asked the amazing Erin Tarr to join me today. She is a confidence coach for preteen and teen girls. She also does in real life events for young girls. I say young girls, but perhaps for all gender, I'm not really sure. Workshops, virtual events, and she also has a membership. She is on a mission to empower young girls to move forward in confidence so they can tackle the world and become beautiful, thriving women in the future. So she is one of the happiest members I have ever known. She always makes all of us smile. By the way, Erin, you also get, I think, the most endorsements. I think you and Shoshana are up there. Like, everyone loves you so much. Your energy is just incredibly contagious. And I suspect your power will continue to create more goodness in the world as you move forward into your programs and your outreach for all girls around the globe. Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're talking about confidence. It is an important conversation to have because I believe, and I'll ask you, Erin, I believe if we don't have a level of confidence, it doesn't really matter what classes we take, what books we read, our grades that we get. If the confidence factor is not there, we're easily knocked down. We easily doubt our worth. We may get ourselves into opportunities that are not the best for us because we don't have the value for ourselves. So self-confidence is really a pillar, I believe, for not only young girls, but also for women. I'm thinking you think the same.
I agree. Yes. Go on. Yes, queen. Yes. It is so true. It's so true, because here's the thing. Confidence is all inside. And I truly, truly believe that each young girl and each woman and each person across the board has a very unique impact that they are meant to make in the world. They have beautiful things inside them that should be coming out, that should be being shared with the world in very specific ways. And that is so hard to do when we don't have confidence. We might share amazing things still, but they might not be our amazing thing, our unique thing. They might not be the impact that we really were uniquely gifted to have if we don't have that foundation of confidence. And I say this based on personal experience. I say this based on the multitude of women that I have talked to in my life. And we have a confidence crisis in some ways, because you can see it in me and I can see it in you, the amazingness, right? So many people can't see it in themselves, which is one of the things, incidentally, I love about FemCity, is that when everyone is reflecting back to you your greatness, you're like, oh, they can't all be lying to me.
And sometimes we need people. I know that when I have been at my most darkest moment, at the bottom of my confidence, sometimes the thing that has pulled me out is hearing someone have confidence in me. And that's happened twice in my life. And I can literally replay it in my mind, detail to detail, when someone's like, I don't need to worry about you. You're going to be fine. You've got everything it takes. So sometimes it's just, it comes from outside in. Ideally, it should come from inside, right? So that we're in control of our own confidence. We don't need other people to give that to us. We have that within us. So I was going to ask you, why is it important for young girls to have confidence? But I think you explained it right there. If you don't have it, you can only get so far, right?
Exactly. And I think the world is missing out.
Yeah.
When we don't help girls understand what it looks like to be confident. And because many adult women are still struggling with their confidence and their place and their alignment and their purpose, we're having difficulty transferring it to them and helping them understand, what does this really look like? And the teen girls are freaking amazing. Like the thoughts that they have and the ideas that they have and the passion, especially with this generation, of wanting to make an impact on the world. And I don't want anything to stop them, least of all themselves. Least of all themselves. So that's why I think it's so important. Yeah.
I got chills you saying that. I agree. I have a 22-year-old daughter and I have a 15-year-old daughter. And the way that they see the world is so different from when I was their age, and the way that they see their connection to others and on the other side, it's been challenging to also see the impacts of social media and what it's done to their confidence, which I know we'll talk about a little later. So thinking of young girls, I know you have daughters also, how can young girls grow their confidence in a world that is constantly with messages about ideal perfection being in its own kind of specific way, or maybe it's like height and weight or color of skin. Like you have these constant curated images of perfection that are circulating all the time. And I know it impacts adults. So I can't even imagine young girls. And on top of that, they have the pressure of like when we were younger, when I was younger, I'm older than you are, but when I was younger, I remember like if you didn't get invited to the party, your feelings would get hurt and you would feel a little bit sad, but it would kind of go away because by Monday morning, there's no remembrance of that. But now you have social media replaying the images of everyone at a party with you not in it. And then you have the images of everyone having gatherings without you in it. So I think there's so much that these young girls are seeing. Yeah. Already your self-confidence is, sketchy because you're in that preteen, you're in that teenage year, you're questioning everything, you're getting to know who you are. And then you have all this messaging. How can girls find their self-confidence with all of that, which I must be so awful. I can't even imagine.
So here's the thing. We don't have any idea what obstacles our daughters or the next generation are going to come up against. We know that we had certain obstacles. We know they may have similar, but they may have totally different obstacles. And I like the metaphor of someone who is playing, let's say, in an Olympic soccer game. They don't know exactly what that game's going to look like. But what they need to be successful is the same thing that they needed in Pee Wee League. They need the fundamentals and they need to practice those and they need to practice those and they need to practice those. And so what I work with girls on, first and foremost, my daughters. So I have a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old. So first and foremost with them, and then with all of my clients, is the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals that we're always going to come back to? So in soccer, it's, ball handling or something with your feet.
Yeah.
I'm not into the sports balls, but sports are a great illustration. Whatever sport you're into, that there are fundamentals that you see at every level of play, whether it's high school, college, professional, Olympic athletes, whatever it is, you're going to see them use those fundamentals that they've been practicing since day one. And that's what we talk about. And I do it from a habit formation standpoint. What are the habits that you can start to form now before your brain is going crazy? And I say crazy very broadly because teens, you are not crazy. If you hear nothing else I say today, you are not crazy. Your brain is developing and you are figuring it out and you are perfect just the way you are. But as our brains are doing that, if we already have some great habits in place, how to choose our thoughts, mindfulness, gratitude practices, affirmations, Mel Robbins' high five habit, whatever these things are that we need, that we can fall back on, because we're all going to have crappy days. Yeah. We're all going to have dark places where we need someone to speak into our life. We're all going to have things that don't work out the way that we expected them to. What do you do in those cases? You fall back to your fundamentals. You fall back to your habits that can sustain you until you go back out there again, until you try again. So when you see that you weren't invited to the party, and when you see that everybody else was, or when you hear that someone made fun of you or was gossiping about you, or you don't feel like you're measuring up or you're good enough for whatever reason on whatever platform, what are your fundamentals? How do you come back to your gratitude practices? How do you come back to your mindfulness? How do you come back to your body? How do you figure out, wait, what brings me joy? Because seeing this and ruminating on this and thinking about this is not bringing me joy. And if it's not bringing me joy, it's not growing my life and growing my purpose and growing my uniqueness. So I don't need that. What do I need to fill my time with? Who do I need to fill my time with? Where can I go out and make an impact and make a difference? And those are the fundamentals that we have to practice. It's not a one and done. You can hear that in class in kindergarten and they say, oh, everybody be nice to each other. And then somehow by junior year, everybody's not necessarily being nice to each other. I wonder why that is, right? We have to practice and we have to have safe spaces where we can mess up.
Yeah.
Or say like, yeah, I wanted to do that for myself, but I only did it, twice this week instead of 7 times. All right, great. You did it twice. Let's celebrate that and move forward. What's our next goal? How are we going to implement that habit a little bit more? How can we take it chunks at a time? Because that's what we need. We need little 1, 2, 3 degree turns, not 180s every week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know where we were going.
Yeah. So I
just get on my soapbox and I go.
No, it's all great. I was looking at you. I'm like, I need to get her on our Instagram for FemCity. I literally wrote it down to reach out to you later to schedule that. And I know we've been talking about doing that for a long time, so we just need to do it. So you mentioned a couple of things as fundamentals. You mentioned mindfulness, creating that safe space. So what are some, if there was a young girl who's watching right now and they're saying, okay, I need to work on my self-confidence. I feel like a poopy head all the time. I do feel like I'm left out. I feel like I'm not good enough. I'm thinking about all the things that I thought of when I was that age. And what are some things that they can start doing today? I mean, I think you listed a bunch of them, but maybe let's break them down a little bit. What are some of those things that they can do starting today to develop? You mentioned also celebrating your wins. So I'm thinking that's probably one thing you would advise, is that to take the time to celebrate your wins, even if they're not what you wanted it to be. Like you didn't win, you didn't run that around the field track as fast as everybody else, but you ran it. Like you didn't walk it this time, you ran it, whatever. So what are some action steps that you would recommend?
The number one thing that I want girls to understand is that you find what you're looking for. So if you are looking to be not included, if you are looking to be not the best, if you are looking this, if you're, whatever you're looking for, that's what you're going to find. And so we get to, first thing in the morning, we get to tell our subconscious and our brains and our reticular activation system, which we can get into all that technical stuff if you want to, but we get to tell ourselves, here's what I want to see today. I know I have a test. I know I have a speech. I know that my mom's going to nag me about this, and this is how I'm going to feel about it, right? I already see the obstacles because I'm very intelligent. No matter what our grades are on a report card, y'all are very intelligent. You know what's going to happen. You know who you need to be to show up as your best self for that. So you tell yourself first thing in the morning, I am patient with my mother, even when she's annoying. I am brave to stand up in front of the class, even though I'm scared. I am confident about this test because I put in the work and I did the studying. Giving ourselves the permission to claim who we need to be to overcome the obstacles that we already see coming. And this is where that habit piece comes in, because you can do this once and it's great. Nothing is ever wasted. But the exponential growth that you see when you do this every day, when you tell yourself every day, here's who I get to be today. Here's who I want to be today. Here's who I'm going to show up as today. Because that's what we find what we're looking for. That's how our reticular activation system works. That's how our subconscious works. I'm not a scientist. I always tell people I'm not a scientist, but I read what they say and I believe what they say.
Yeah.
And this is brain science and this is how it works. And that is the best thing that you can do. So when you're looking for wins, you find wins.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
I love how you shared that, because I will say at FemCity, sometimes we'll have a course and we talk about affirmations, because what you're saying is it's a combination of affirmation and it's a truthful discussion, and it's also a bit of goals. And I love how you package that, because sometimes I hear people when we say, just repeat this affirmation. I have money, or I am beautiful, I am beautiful. There is a sense of we're being fraudulent, right? Because we don't believe it yet. So when we start saying those mantras, we're like, yeah, that doesn't even make sense, but I'm saying it because Violet said so, or Erin said so. So I'm going to say it. But I love how you framed it with saying, who is your best self for that day? What is the highest version of yourself that you can aspire to be? And you're also acknowledging the areas that perhaps are holding you back a little bit. So you said, I'm going to, do the best I can on this test because I did study. I studied the best that I could. I'm going to whatever, because I know that's not my best. Like I need to work on my patience. So I love that you're connecting it, because I see that as a really big problem when people start doing the affirmations, that they just don't feel like it's truthful because they don't feel like it is at that moment. But I love that you're saying it's not that it's not truthful. It's like, here's where I'm at and here's where I want to be. And I've got all the tools to get there. And I'm going to focus on being the best person I can be, or the best version of myself. I love how you brought that all together.
Thank you. And what I tell my girls when I'm working with them, if they say, I need confidence to do my oral Spanish exam because I'm very nervous, I need confidence. I say, okay, tell me about the last time you were confident. Give me some evidence, because you've lived 14 years of your life. I know there's at least one good example that you can give me, probably in the last week, of when you've been confident. And then when you notice that, and when you're able to tangibly say, like, that was a time that I was confident, even if it was just like, I stood up to, you know, my sister when she wanted to borrow my sweater and I didn't want her to. And I said no. And I was confident in that no. That little piece of truth carries over to help you bloom into the truth that you need, the confidence for your Spanish oral exam. Like, it's the same confidence. It's not two different your confidence or your patience or your organization skills, whatever the thing is that you need to show up as your best self, is the same in all situations. And we forget that. We think, oh, well, that was easy. That's just my sister. No, that is the exact same confidence you need to call on for the more difficult situations. And that was preparing you for that situation. And this situation, this oral exam, is preparing you for your first job interview. And your first job interview is preparing you for your college entrance interviews. Like, it's all
connected. Yep. Yeah. I love also, I wrote down habit. I love that you mentioned that, because again, I see people not excelling because they do it one time, or maybe they do it twice, and then they're like, that doesn't work.
Yeah. Or that doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. I'm just not going to do it anymore. They forget, or they don't focus on it. Or maybe things get so much better. I've seen this happen too, where they do it one time and the things get so much better. They're like, I don't need that anymore. So I don't need to do that anymore because it got better. Like I did that technique that Erin told me and it gets better, or it got better. So I love that you mentioned habit is to create it so it's every day, and that you work on it every day and you do more and more of that goodness every day as you get acclimated into that new space of becoming a better self-confident version of yourself. And you can say, you know what, I did really great today. Tomorrow I'm going to add in whatever, being more patient, or, you know, not having that conversation in my head that makes me feel bad, whatever those things are, that it is an evolution. And I will say, even adults go through that. So it's not something that goes away, because that's also, I think, a misconception that young girls feel like it'll get better when I get to college, or it'll get better when I get to be a senior, or it'll get better when I'm, 20 or whatever. I think all humans go through this sense of evolution of just every day getting better and better. It never really ends. You just fall in love with the process.
When we focus on it. Yeah. What we focus on improves. Absolutely. And what we create systems and routines for, which I am not a systems or routine person. So I don't do well with people saying like, oh, you should just, get a planner or do this or do that. That's not me. I'm a very random person. I say what comes to my mind. I do what comes to my mind. And so the fact that I teach habits, and I have a million habit hacks, because I'm like, I have a very hard time keeping up with habits because my brain works differently. So I want you to be successful in the way that it makes sense for you, because you can't just sign on with one person and say like, I'm going to do. It's like Marie Kondoing your house. Like there's probably 5% of the population that can actually Marie Kondo their house because that's how their brain works. The rest of us need a different system. And so that's what I try to provide to girls. Like, if it works for you, do it this way. If that doesn't work, try this way. Like, let's keep failing forward, especially at a young age, because the stakes are never lower than they are right now. And that's true for you and me. Our stakes will never be lower. They only get higher the further we go in life. So let's fail
every day. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that you mentioned fail forward, because every time I was talking to one of my kids, I'm not going to mention that just in case they're watching, but one of my kids, their situation, and I was sharing, like, every time I have failed and it's been painful and horrible, I have always found it to be a blessing months or years later, where I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that didn't happen. I'm so grateful it turned out the way it did. And so I love that failing forward, because if you have that mindset, if you realize every time you fail, it's actually going to be a gift for you in the future. You just don't know it, but it's going to be a gift. Then you change your paradigm perspective on, wow, I failed. You know what? something good will come out of it. I don't see it right now and it hurts and I feel like I don't want to stop crying and I just want to sit on the sofa and eat my gelato and binge on Marie Kondo or whatever it is. So I love that you mentioned that feeling forward, because I think that's a whole other conversation that maybe holds people back, but changing your mindset to embrace it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've talked with my daughters about is coming up with a ritual in advance for those failures. So when that happens, when you feel like just, wallowing in whatever, give yourself time to wallow. I am a big fan of I'm a pretty quick wallower. I'm like, oh, we got 10 minutes. And then my daughter's like, I need like 12 hours. I'm like, all right, fine. But we set the alarm. We're like, wallow for however long. And then what's next? Like set that ritual for how do you move forward from this relationship, from this club that didn't work out, from this I have a friend recently that failed a very public election. And it takes time to process that. Like, what's your ritual? But if you've had a ritual since you were 12 of how you deal with failure, you're ready for the next thing. And what a gift, right?
Yeah. I love everything that you're saying, Erin. Even the other day I was talking to one of my kids and dissecting, like, okay, what's really bothering you? And again, my goal is to give them the tools that they need so that when I'm not around, in a sense, like I'm traveling to Bali or they're all the way in Italy or whatever, if I'm not around, they're able to use the tools and get themselves out of that state. So what's bothering you? It's my job. Okay. What about your job? I don't like sitting down for 6 hours. Okay. How much money are you making? What do we have to find? What are the solutions? So just breaking it through so that you have a recipe, as you were saying, a ritual to get yourself out of that, to think differently. That is a huge, huge gift.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
Right. I remember the day when I heard this. So I had my first child. So this was like 14 years ago. And I was sitting and we had Netflix at the time, but it was like where you mailed the CDs back and forth. So this is like way pre, whatever. So all I had at like 3 a.m. when I'm feeding this infant is whatever is on cable television at 3 a.m., which is God only knows what, like telemarketing and whatever. And I actually got hooked on this televangelist. And I don't remember most of what she said, but what the thing that stuck with me, one day she said, you don't have to think every thought that comes into your head. And I had to take a step back and be like, what does that even mean? But I'm like, you're right. We get to decide what thoughts we want to choose, what thoughts are productive, what thoughts are helpful, what thoughts are going to move us to the next level, and which ones aren't. And we can reject those. And that has become the foundation of everything I teach, is choose your thoughts. And that's where gratitude practices, that's where affirmations, that's where mindfulness, that's where reflective practices, that's where proactive, all of that comes out of choose your thoughts as the foundation. And I just remember being so pissed off, to be quite honest, that no one had ever told me this before. I'm like, this is groundbreaking stuff. Why has no one ever told me that I don't have to be this way or that way when these thoughts come into my head, that I actually have that power? Like, I am taking back that power as a brand new mom, which is an important time to take back that power. And I'm going to make sure that this child and every other child that I come into contact with has this knowledge, because that's life-changing. Life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So what's your final advice for young girls looking for, you shared so much, but I always ask final advice because there's always something they're like, oh, I should have mentioned that. So final advice that you have for girls that are looking at up-leveling their self-confidence.
Listen and pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. The most important conversation that you will have every day of your life is the one that you have with yourself. So pay attention, whether it's internally or I talk to myself out loud, but not everyone does. Pay attention to what you are saying to yourself. And that's where it starts. And if you start paying attention and you can start to capture that, your whole life will change. Your whole life will change.
Love it. All right, Erin, thank you so much for joining me today for FemCity Girls. And how can they find you? So I know that you are one of our founding members. So I think you are already on the FemCity Girls website. But for those that are maybe not over there and they just, what's the best
they just
website?
Randomly found us.
Yeah, exactly. They're just finding it on YouTube. How can they connect with you to maybe take more classes from you or learn more about the work you're doing?
Yeah, erintarr.com. So that's my name, ERINTARR is the best place because you can reach all my socials there. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all these things, but going to my website is where you can find everything, and just reach out to me. If you want to have a conversation, I am happy to have a conversation with anybody, have a chat, see where you're at, see if working together is going to be a good fit, or if I can just serve you in that 30-minute conversation just to get you to where you need to go. Yeah.
Aw. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Erin. This is amazing. And again, I always love your energy and how you show up in the world. I'm super grateful that you're in my life and in the life of FemCity and FemCity girls. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.